Either you're taking your clothes off or I'm taking them off for you. At first, Dylan seemed like everything I wanted, but inside, he was someone different. Someone evil. And my relationship with him had me on the brink of collapse. When I first met Dylan, I fell fast. He had long black hair, had the same taste in music. He was everything I could want. I was bursting at the seams to tell him I loved him, but he also had a long-distance girlfriend, so I kept quiet. I kept my feelings inside. I even tried to stop how I felt to see him only as a friend, but my feelings didn't listen. The more time we spent together, the more in love with him I felt. One night, neither of us could sleep, so we texted each other in bed. They were just words on my screen, but they practically sang to me. Me and Brittany are over. I love you, Cam. There wasn't a happy enough emoji to capture how I felt, so I just jumped up and down on the bed and bit my lip to keep from squealing. We ended up speaking for hours, and by the end of the night, Dylan asked me out. I couldn't sleep and couldn't care less. I wanted that moment to last forever. We'd walk down the halls with Dylan's arm wrapped around me. This was all I had ever wanted, and to finally be with Dylan felt like a dream. I was so happy. But then I started to notice how everyone kept asking him, "Where's Brittany? What happened to Brittany?" He'd just laugh and say, "Oh, I'm over that. I'm with Cameron now." It made me uncomfortable, but I didn't know what to say, so I just kept quiet. Then the truth came out. I was at his house when his phone buzzed and I saw the name Brittany on the screen. He tried to take the call out of earshot, but she was screaming and I heard everything. She told him she heard he was dating someone new. Dylan not only wasn't over Brittany, he hadn't even broken up with her. She told him it was over between them and hung up. Dylan started to sob, but I had my own sadness and anger to deal with, so I left. On the way home, he kept blowing up my phone, talking about how sorry he was, what a jerk he'd been for not telling me about Brittany, and for cheating on both of us. I was so upset and I had every reason to be done with him. But in the end, I still loved him, and I couldn't imagine my life without him. So I stayed. Like I said, I was so naive. Things seemed okay for about a month, but even though he had broken it off with Brittany, he was still wildly obsessed with her. "I never even met this girl and now she wants to fight me?" She said she wanted to curb stomp me. I'd had enough. I told Dylan that she can try, but it won't end well for her. Dylan seemed to like us fighting over him. It seemed to make his desire for me stronger. Things only got worse from there. It started with what seemed like an innocent kiss, and then, "Take your clothes off." I told him I wasn't in the mood and my stomach was in knots. I was stunned. In the smallest voice possible, I asked, "What?" When I looked into his eyes, I didn't even recognize him. It wasn't the Dylan I fell in love with. I was mistreated that day. Dylan said if I told anyone about what happened, he would go to my house to hurt me and then himself, leaving me alone in the world with no one. So once again, I said nothing. For 8 months, I suffered alone. What made it worse was that in public, he was so nice. He got along with our friends. Nobody seemed to have any issues with him. But behind closed doors was another story. He would monitor me if I took a single bite more than he allowed. It got to the point that even when I ate alone, I'd hear him in my head, shaming me. So, did my body rejected, and soon it was rejecting something else. I miscarried. But then one day, it was his first absence of the year. The first time I didn't have to see his face. I felt the weight of 1,000 suns lifted from my shoulders, until my friend, Elaine, asked, "Where's Dylan?" Suddenly, I was picturing his face. My heart pounded. I gasped heavy breaths and practically collapsed into Elaine's arms. She led me to the bathroom and held my hair back as I threw up everything I had in me. All the stress, the fear, I cried all the tears I had left. But there was something else I couldn't keep inside any longer. The truth. Elaine put her arm around me, and I told her everything. Then my friends Matt and Judah came to check on me, and I told them too. They were there for me. I was all talked out, but that was okay, because now Elaine, Matt, and Judah did the talking for me, letting everyone else know what was happening, who Dylan really was. It was all out there now. It wasn't my problem to suffer alone, and now it was time for him to feel pain and suffer. After the confrontation, I decided to move and finish the year away from Dylan so that the healing could finally begin. It was difficult leaving my old friends behind, who helped me gain the courage to confront the boy who had been hurting me, and that I or anyone else doesn't need to go through problems alone. But I still saw them on weekends, and we hung out every chance we got. And in that last year, I never saw Dylan again. In fact, no one saw much of him. But you know who I did see? Brittany, the ex who wanted to curb stomp me. Turns out, she never said that or any of the things Dylan told me she did. In fact, he was telling her the same things about me with the same stories so that we would get angry to one another and continue to fight over him. Brittany and I continued speaking to each other about Dylan, and as time went on, we both realized we're more alike than we thought. We're both Tauruses, like the same music, the same foods, and we had something else in common. We were both victims of Dylan's violence, and through our similar struggles, we became friends. So many friends helped me through this experience, and I'm incredibly thankful. That's why I wanted to share my story, to let people going through similar struggles know that there are people out there who can help, that you're not alone, and you don't have to suffer alone.